The other gods love kill. Because I have something worth fighting for.
Let's see who you are. I take off your disguise. And flick!
Oh.
So Thor Love and Thunder once again stars Chris Hemsworth as the God of Thunder, and it is directed by Taika Waititi, who also helmed the previous Thor film, Thor Ragnarok. Now, I think that between the two, Thor Ragnarok is the better film, but this one is still a whole lot of fun. It's very enjoyable from the beginning to the end. There are a lot of great moments throughout it. It actually has some of my favorite moments with Thor, but at the same time, it also has some of my least favorite moments. Now, one of the things that I'll say that they did a really good job with in this one has to do with the characters. We have a lot of characters in this film, and they all were quite good. I really enjoyed Chris Hemsworth as Thor once again. He's probably at his best as he's ever been in this movie. You also have the return of Natalie Portman playing Jane Foster in a much bigger role for this film than what she's had in any of the previous ones, and it was really great to see her back. I like what they did with her character, and I thought that she worked well with Thor, and you get a lot of romance between the two of them, and that was fun as well. There's a lot of love in this movie between the characters and between the interactions with all the people, and so that was a real nice element of the film as well. Probably the standout new character in this one has got to be Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. It's not every day that you get a Marvel villain that is truly fantastic, and I think that Christian Bale's is one of those. He was really quite creepy in both his performance as well as in the way that they displayed him on screen. Every time that he showed up, just visually, he looked freaky, and I loved the way that he was shown, the way that he was displayed, and the way that he was portrayed by Christian Bale. He was fantastic. Now, I do wish we would have gotten a little bit more of him in the movie. That is kind of one of my gripes. I also wanted to see him do more Gore the God Butcher stuff. It's kind of unfortunate how much we get to see of him. It would have been nice to have a little bit of a longer runtime to get to see a little bit more of his path and what he went through to get where he is. That would have been preferable. Other two characters that make an appearance in this film that were quite interesting and quite awesome and funny are the two goats that Thor gets. They are in the film throughout, and they are hilarious whenever they are involved. You also have some other characters such as Zeus and other guys that I'm not going to spoil that make some appearances, and I enjoyed them as well. I thought they were a lot of fun. That's really one of the big things that I like the most about this movie is the characters. Now, visually speaking, I also really enjoyed this movie because Taika Waititi does a great job at the colors and making everything pop and flash. And he did a good job with this one. It's really about as visually appealing as Ragnarok was. There's actually some parts of this that I like even more than Ragnarok. There's some stuff that you see it in the trailer where they go and it's kind of black and white, the whole screen. And that was visually just a very, very cool scene. It's also some of my favorite stuff in the entire movie. It was a great part. I absolutely loved it. So story-wise, it was pretty good. I didn't love the story. It was a little bit simpler compared to what I was kind of hoping for with Gore the God Butcher. I was hoping it was to be a little bit more beefed up, a little bit more dark and brutal, I guess you could say. Didn't quite have that or have what I was looking for there, but it had a lot of good moments with the story. There were some unexpected turns that occurred, some things that you weren't looking for, and I enjoyed that. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about that's kind of one of the best things about this movie, but is also one of the worst things about this movie, is the comedy. Because the reason why it's the best is because it's pretty funny stuff. There's some good jokes throughout. It's very fun. It's very entertaining. But at the same time, it goes so much into the comedy. And this movie is very much a comedy in of itself. But it's so comedic at times that it can kind of undermine the more serious aspect of the film, which is something that we really don't have. I recently rewatched the first Thor movie, and I absolutely loved that one for how serious it takes the character and understanding who he is. This one kind of has too much comedy. I've heard a lot of people explain that it feels like a parody. I can see that. To me, it wasn't the entire film that felt like that, but there are moments where it does have that parody feel, almost like they're kind of making fun of Thor and the Thor universe, which was a little bit unfortunate. I kind of feel like they looked at Thor Ragnarok and they took everything that worked really well in that film and they just kind of jumped it way up, and when they did that, it didn't quite work as much in this movie. but it was still a lot of fun. The comedy is still funny, so it's kind of that love-hate relationship with it where you're like, okay, it's funny, but at the same time, I kind of wish they'd taken a little bit more of a serious route with this one, especially with someone like a villain of gore. It would have been nice to have seen that. Now, as mentioned, there is a lot of love throughout this film. You have a lot of different things between the characters and the relationship there. You also have a love relationship between the weapons. The weapons, Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, are just about as big characters in this film as any of the others as well. And it was fun to see kind of that relationship there. Sometimes maybe some people may not like it very much, but I thought it was funny. It led to some great moments, and I really enjoyed that. So overall, guys, this movie is a lot of fun. If there was one word that I was used to describe it, I would simply say it's entertaining, whether that is through the humor, the action. I forgot to mention that is quite well done. Great action scenes in it. You have a decent story. You've got great performances, great characters. Visually, it's appealing. It is just fun. This movie is a good time to go see at the theater. I highly recommend you check it out. It's not my favorite Thor film. It probably or might be your favorite Thor film, but regardless, it's still fun to see just for what it is. And for that reason, guys, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a B. Go and see it if you have the time. Check it out. I recommend seeing it in theaters rather than waiting for it to come out on Disney Plus or on DVD. See it on the big screen. It's worth seeing it there.
Hands were once used for battle. Now they're but humble tools for peace. I need to figure out exactly who I am.
Now, when it comes to the cleanliness of this film, there are a couple things that I do want to bring up. In a lot of ways, it's very similar to your other Marvel movies. It is, for the most part, very, very family friendly. But there are a few things in this one that kind of stand apart that you don't see in all of the Marvel films. So I want to talk about those as well. First of all, you have the swearing in this film. Like all the Marvel movies, there is a decent amount that's spread throughout. It's nothing significant. It's not like there's any F words or anything like that. It's not a consistent amount of swearing, but there are some swear words. Oftentimes, they're even used for comedy, and they can be funny in that sense. But you do have to look for that in the film. Another thing with this one is there is a decent amount of action. It's superhero action. I wouldn't say that it's terribly violent, but it can be a little bit gory at times. It's not so bothersome because most of the time when they're fighting, it's these creatures or it's other styles of people, and so even though it can be gory, it's often different colored blood like black or gold, and that doesn't tend to have the same kind of effect as seeing an actual human and blood and stuff like that. So I don't think it's all that bad, but it is pretty violent at parts. There is quite a bit of action, and it can be rather bloody. Big thing for this one that is not included in a lot of other Marvel movies, and you get a tease of this in the original trailers, and that is the fact that you do have one shot in this scene where there is some partial nudity. You do see Chris Hemsworth's butt, and it is on there for, it's not for super long, but it is there, it is present. So whether or not you think that's bad is kind of determined by you, but you may or may not want some of your kids seeing his butt on screen, so you want to look out for that. Again, it's in the trailer. You can see from the trailer when it's coming up, so if you don't want your kids to see it, it's pretty easy to get their eyes covered. So that's kind of the big thing there. The other big thing on this one, which is kind of something that you also had in the latest MCU film, and that's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, is that this one tends to have at times a little bit of a creepier tone, and that's particularly with any thing that involves Gore the God Butcher. They did try and make him freakier. Christian Bale's performance may be a little bit creepy. Again, it's not really scary. I wouldn't consider it like a horror film or anything like that, but it might be some freaky imagery that could potentially bother some kids, some younger viewers, and they may not like it all that much. But those are kind of the big things for Thor Love and Thunder. As I'm saying, the most part, it's pretty clean. It's your typical Marvel movie. It's family-friendly entertainment, but this one does have those things that you want to look out for. And for those reasons, I'm going to go ahead and give it a B- on the cleanliness rating. Not one that I would recommend for super young kids, or if you do have young kids going to see it, to maybe go and preview it beforehand. But other than that, I think the majority of people can enjoy this and that it's not going to bother them all that much.
I want to choose my own path. Live in the moment. My superheroing days are over.
So anyways, guys, those are my thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder. I thought it was a really good time, very entertaining, a lot of fun from start to finish. even if it's not one of the best Thor films, even if it maybe sometimes doesn't take the character as seriously as it could, and the comedy may undermine some of that deeper storytelling that could have been reached. But it is a very good time. It's one that I recommend that you check out at the theater. But have you guys had the opportunity to see it? If you have, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. And be sure to look forward to more reviews coming soon. Like and subscribe to this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one.
Giant goats!